on this episode of the Jeff Does Vegas podcast.
I think it just kind of came from there. We're like, okay, well, this is like some positivity that we can take out of what's happening to us right now. We can maintain some sanity by continuing to work on something at least, and who knows what it can turn into. So it just kind of, it became like a fun little project that if we got too anxious, we would just start trying to work on something to just focus our brains.
In Spanish, its name means the Meadows. You might know it as the entertainment capital of the world, Lost Wages, or simply Sin City. Of course, I'm talking about fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. On average, 42 million people visit Las Vegas every year, and I'm one of them. I love this city. The sights, the sounds, the shows, the people, the history. I want to share all of it with you. Taking you to the world-famous Vegas Strip and beyond. My name is Jeff, and this is the Jeff Does Vegas podcast. Hey there, and welcome to episode number 61 of the Jeff Does Vegas podcast. Thank you so much for hopping on board this little podcast trip to what I like to think of as the best city on the planet, fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Before we get rolling for this episode of the show, I want to thank my guests from the last episode of the podcast, Devin Allerid and Nina Kane, the hosts of the Socially Distant Show, an online show that gives Vegas entertainers the opportunity to keep performing for an audience, albeit a virtual one. There's also a very cool charitable aspect to the show as well. If you haven't listened yet and you want to know more about it, jump into the archives wherever you get your podcasts and search out episode number 60, Quarantainment, or head to the website at jeffdoesvegas.com. All right, on to the show. My special guests for this episode of the podcast are Vegas entertainers and married couple Makenzie Fly and Colin Cahill. Before COVID-19 shut down Las Vegas, Makenzie was one of the leads in the show Sex Tips for Straight Women from a Gay Man at the Paris, Las Vegas. And Colin was performing as a part of Spiegelworld's newest Vegas show, Atomic Saloon at the Venetian, which I reviewed all the way back in episode number 47 as a part of my December trip report. When they were involuntarily forced out of their respective gigs by the coronavirus, the pair wanted to keep performing, so they launched their own comedy music duo, Mac and the Cheese. So far, the pair have written and released 4 original pandemic-themed songs covering a multitude of topics, including how to keep Betty White alive and the worldwide toilet paper shortage. Makenzie and Colin joined me via Zoom from their home in Las Vegas. We talked about their life before the shutdown. We discussed a little bit about what Vegas shows might look like once things open back up. We talked about the genesis of Mac and the Cheese and whether or not the act has a future beyond the pandemic. Please enjoy my conversation with Makenzie Fly and Colin Cahill, aka Mac and the Cheese.
The Makenzie and Colin story. Well, it started back when I was a young girl growing up in Kansas. We were both transplants. We both moved here together, actually, 6 years ago?
Yeah.
About. We met working on a cruise ship out of Miami. And by the end of that cruise ship, we were like, well, we want to spend some more time together. So she was like, I'm heading to Vegas to go to Jubilee. And I was like, well, my plan was to go back to New York, but I guess that's not happening anymore. So I moved here with her. And then we've just been doing the Vegas life pretty much since then.
I can't shake them as much as I try.
She keeps moving apartments, and somehow I just keep ending up in those apartments as well.
You're not changing the locks fast enough, Makenzie.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But no, we both have backgrounds in musical theater. We went to school and got our BFA for musical theater and then jumped on cruise ships, both as principal singers. And it was pretty much, I would say, love at first sight. It's funny, I don't really remember there being that he says nothing first of all. I don't really remember this dating phase. We kind of jumped in really quickly. I think that we I don't know, just really settled into a relationship early on. And we even wrote like our own show that we used to call we've had so many names, this progression of us trying to find like this kind of
our little niche.
Our jive, like our niche. But we actually wrote a show when we were on the cruise ships. It was called That Crooner Couple. So I think that too, like working together on cruise ships, it's kind of like life in quarantine.
Yeah.
You're just stuck in this random floating object.
You can only jump off when they allow you to get off. And other than that, you're pretty much like stuck in your cabin. So I guess our mindset kind of started back then when it comes to just forcing ourselves to try to come up with something because we have nothing else to do.
Yeah. So back then we were That Crooner Couple. And then I think that too, trying to solidify a show together really solidified this just amazing relationship of trying to work together and coming up with something. I think that's too another reason why we moved to Vegas together so quickly after that.
Yeah.
And we've been working in Vegas ever since we moved here. Both of us have been in a ton of shows on the trip. I was in Jubilee, Vegas the Show, Tournament of Kings, then Sex Tips for Straight Women from a Gay Man, and then Colin was in a ton of stuff too. Yeah,
and then she was supposed to be starting in Atomic Saloon. Well, technically she'd already done a couple shows, but she's supposed to be starting full time in a few months. And then so for me, we college, and then I moved to New York and started trying to do that thing. Did an off-Broadway show, and then that's when I met Kenz and moved out here. And then I was in Sex Tips for a little bit too. Atomic Saloon. I jumped in with the Tenors of Rock, Bronx Wanderers, Tournament of Kings, bunch of just anything in town basically to get work, and there's plenty of work because it's Vegas.
There was a time he was kind of like the male swing of the city. He just was learning like all the shows at one point, and like on a Thursday he'd be in Tenors of Rock, and then on Friday he'd be over, with somebody else. Everybody was just like, "Where's Colin Cahill this week?" Like it was a nice little running joke. It was cool.
But yeah, I mean that's pretty much our story.
It's funny that you say that, Colin, because I know when your name had come up, I can't remember who I was talking to. Might have been Kenny Davidson or Jimmy Denning, one of those guys. And your name came up and I said, "Oh, isn't he in Tenors of Rock?" And I think maybe you were doing tenors at that time. Mm-hmm. And I think it might have been Jimmy that had said, "Oh, he's in a dozen different things. It's just the guy never stops, but you'll always find him with his shirt off."
Yes, that is the kicker. And that's kind of the punchline of the joke in the city is that he never sings without a shirt on.
Yeah, except after you gained your quarantine 15. And I don't think my shirt will be coming off anytime soon until I can get back to a gym for a little bit.
And so you guys talked about the shows that you were involved with briefly there prior to everything sort of going down. So ladies first, Kenz, let's talk about Sex Tips. It's a show at the Paris, and it's I mean, it is what it is. It's sex tips for a straight woman from a gay man. Did I get that right?
Correct. Yeah, lots of prepositional phrases in that one. So it's very straightforward. The title kind of alludes to exactly what you're going to see, except for people kind of come in with this idea that it might be a bit vulgar or raunchy, but it's actually quite the opposite. It's very tame and it's actually really respectful, but it's just on the topic of sex. So it's not like we come in and we do gross things on the stage. We're just having a real conversation about what it's like to be sexually involved and attracted to your partner and how to kind of have more tips within the bedroom. So it's funny because the show starts, the character that I play, her name is Robin Brown. She's this very shy librarian type who is kind of in her shell. She's not used to talking about these things. She's not used to being on stage at all, but she is very wildly attracted to her lights and sound assistant, the Stefan character. So you see this seed of like sexual energy within her that's just dying to come out. So there's this really cool dynamic and evolution of her character that from the beginning, like she's got this, that she's attractive, but she just doesn't know how to work it, how to play it, how to be it. So I love playing this character because it's nice. I get to be this like nerdy, quirky person who's just me in a nutshell. But then she also has this nice growth and beautiful coming of age sort of vibe where she is like, okay, like it's not a bad thing to go after somebody that I want. It's not a bad thing to share intimacy with another person. And so I really just enjoy the show in general because she has that beautiful arc. Then mixed on top of that, main character, I guess, of the show. There's only 3 characters, the Robin, Stefan, and then the Dan character. Dan is the author of this book, and he just hijacks the whole show, and it becomes mayhem of him, like, dragging people up on the stage and having them do all sorts of crazy things of, like, giving, you know, hand jobs, pretending to do blow jobs. And it's just really cool to watch the audience members. They just go nuts for the audience participation. Like, we could say stuff on stage and they'll kind of laugh, but when you pull a random person from the audience up onto the stage and, like, put a blindfold on them, and then you're describing how to give a hand job and you're just watching them kind of, like, try, there is nothing funnier. There really isn't. And you just see the whole audience melt and have a good time. And really, Vegas is kind of the perfect place to have a show like this, because whatever happens in Vegas, you know, stays in Vegas, and people are really willing to go for it.
Yeah, the show is based on an actual book called Sex Tips for a Straight Woman from a Gay Man. And it was originally off Broadway, and it ran out there for a few years, I believe. Yeah,
I think it was one of the longer off-Broadway shows.
But then the producer brought it out here, and it's been going here strong for, I think, close to 3 years.
Yeah, maybe just about 4.
Close to that, so it's been doing well.
It's a fun show. It's great for couples. It's great for bachelorette parties. Everybody's going to come and have a good laugh. And it's a smaller theater, so it's a nice intimate setting for an intimate topic. Mm-hmm. So it's good. I've had such a fun time with the show. I can't wait to do it again.
And Colin, your sort of main thing for the last while has been Atomic Saloon. Mm-hmm. My wife and I went and saw that show in December when we were in Vegas. We absolutely died at that show. I mean, you come out right off the top of the show, and it's a home run, right? I'm not even going to get into it. It is probably one of the best shows that I've seen in a very, very long time.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of my favorite shows I've ever been in. It's nothing but chaos and mayhem and ridiculousness, all packaged into an amazing Spiegelworld circus show. Yeah, I mean, we've just had so much fun. We initially last summer, we took it out to Scotland to rehearse and create all of it in one place together. Some of the cast knew each other. I knew absolutely nobody. And we just had a fun time there, putting it together for a month. Then we did a month at the festival in Edinburgh. And we just had a great run of it, had a lot of great reviews, and then brought it back here and just came out real strong. We've been having a blast with it, though. Yeah, the first song that I do, that Blue Jackson does right off the bat is a ridiculous song. We can't do that. But that's a song by Wheeler Walker Jr. He's a great musical comedian, and they played that song for us, and we kind of all were just like, hey, so we're gonna put this in the show.
When he was in Edinburgh rehearsing the show, he messaged me and he was like, you will not believe the song that they want me to sing. Because he was a little, not necessarily nervous, but you were like, this is a strong choice. Well, it's either going to go well or people are not going to respond. You know, he didn't know how it would go. But
I've never done like raunchy comedy like that, I guess, in a way before. So I was really nervous about how it would be taken. And some people just can't do, like it comes off wrong just by the person who's doing it, and I, because I've never done it before, I don't know how it would be taken if I come out and I do that style of comedy. But it fortunately worked out well. I feel like we've gotten decent responses for the most part. A few older folks might get up and walk out, but but yeah, I mean, it's been fun. And I mean, if once Atomic gets back up and running, definitely needs to come out and check it out, because we have world-renowned comedians playing Boozy and the Preacher, and then our circus performers are some of the most incredible people I've ever seen, and they're from all around the world, and they do the most incredible things, and yeah, it's chaos, mayhem, and hilariousness, and it's all rolled into one.
It honestly, like I say, I mean, it fits so well into that Spiegelworld brand. I mean, Absinthe, the original Spiegelworld show, is amazing. Yeah. I have yet to see Opium. It was another one that was on the list to see at some point. And I think going into Atomic Saloon, we didn't really know 100% what to expect out of it. Yeah. It was very much in that same vein as Absinthe, but different enough that it's such a different show is kind of the way that I found it.
Yeah, Cal, our director, really wanted to have like some sort of through line, like that it was more than just comedy act, comedy act, comedy act. He wanted it to actually have like the characters to all be grounded in this world and have, especially even each of the acts be a character in the show and not just an act that comes up as a part of the show. So he worked real hard to instill that in it. So I feel like that's probably like where most of the strength comes from.
This is all connected.
Is that, yeah, he worked so hard on interconnecting all of it. And yeah, Absinthe. I remember the first time that we went to go see Absinthe a few years ago. It was my first Spiegelworld show ever. And I just was like mouth agape watching the show, just like, what? Like, people are doing this stuff on stage, and I'm not sure like whether I feel comfortable, whether I feel not comfortable. Like, am I supposed to be laughing? Should I not be laughing? And it's the style they're able to just hold your interest and teeter on this fine line of what's too much and what's not enough. And yeah, Spiegelworld's definitely got something special in their company when it comes to like that.
Something you guys both, you mentioned with Sex Tips, and then having seen Atomic Saloon, I know there's this, the audience participation end of things with what's going on in the world. I don't want to dive too deep into it because it's depressing and whatever, but with what's going on in the world, in the COVID world and the post-pandemic world, do you think those shows are both going to have to make some adjustments as far as audience participation? Do you think it'll take away from the shows at all?
Yeah. Well, we actually, Atomic already started adjusting before we had to close down in preparation for hopefully trying to not continue the spread. But there's a section where basically two of the main characters like coax the audience into kissing them. That, of course, had to immediately be cut. There were a couple other, basically just any like true interactions, like touching or anything like that between the audience and the performers basically got cut and put on the sideline and like up until we got closed. Now, when everything comes back, I mean, there's going to have to be precautions, of course, until, you know, the world kind of gets a handle on this whole virus.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think everything is going to have to alter outside of performance too. Just the awareness of, you know, getting close to another person. So of course it will have an effect, but since we're all going through it together, I think it will be, you know, one of those things that's just kind of understood, and that it'll just kind of, everybody will have to kind of suspend and understand why, that it won't necessarily hurt the shows, but the people, like audiences, will be more grateful that they're not kind of pressured into doing something in light of everything. So I don't think it'll necessarily, or the shows won't lose any sort of value because of it, because everybody's grateful to try to stay safe and healthy. But I can't wait till this is all kind of over, because it did add so much of just doing something ridiculous with somebody that you don't know. So yeah. I think that will be missed on the performer end, but maybe the audience won't notice. Or
I mean, I also think though that whenever you have hindrances like this, the truly creative people come up with a way to kind of learn from it and almost comment on it while still being able to get the same point across.
Right.
So I also imagine that in certain circles, there's going to be a lot of creativity that comes out of not actually having the audience participate while still having the audience participate.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where creativity comes from, is these new boundaries, these new hindrances that have come up, and you spin and work with it. So that's good.
Hindrances. Say it with us. Hindrances. There we go.
That's an interesting spin on it too, because I think one of the things that I've always loved about going to shows in Vegas and going to some of these smaller, more intimate shows is how close you get. I mean, Atomic Saloon's a great example of that, because of, you've got the stage at the back where there's people right up on the stage and a part of the show, and the stage up front where people are, they're right there.
They're right there. Yeah. You kick the wrong direction, you're going to knock somebody out. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Somebody stands up to use the bathroom at the wrong time, they're getting their teeth knocked out. So,
it's true. So mature risk.
Yeah. Exactly. So my fear is that may disappear, that intimacy in the shows may disappear a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine that it's only bound to happen, of course, to make sure that, I mean, we have to keep our workers, our performers safe. We have to keep the audiences safe. I mean, I imagine it's bound to happen.
But at that point, you know, everybody's just been however long we're in quarantine. We're just going to be happy to be in one room together.
Yes.
You know, anything is a step up. We're like, well, there's not that, but at least I'm not like watching this virtually in my bedroom, you know? So
everyone, please reach to your side and make sure that you cannot touch your neighbor.
I don't know. Anything will be better than being locked up in your own house.
But yeah, again, though, that's just going to cause, I feel like eventually it's just going to come out with more creative ways to still have that same feel without having the danger of it. Now, what that will be, I haven't the slightest clue, but I'm sure somebody will come up with a good idea.
Awesome. So let's go on to happier stuff. Let's talk about the stuff you guys are currently working on right now. Sure. Mac and the Cheese. This is so awesome. And you guys have been, it's been so much fun to watch you guys develop this and develop this. I don't know. I mean, call it an act, call it a duo, call it a performance.
We're not really sure what it is at this point either, so you can call it whatever you want.
Where did this come from? Was it just a case of, okay, we're going nuts, we need to do something? Was it just one of those aha moments, we need to do that? How did it all sort of come about? I
think a lot of it came out of the anxiety that everything that we knew was falling apart all at once. You know, both of us got we're unemployed at the drop of a hat randomly one day in the middle of March. Both of us. And so I think a lot of it came from like the anxiety of I don't know what to do. And basically what happened one day is was teaching her like very last yoga class before everything closed out. And I was just sitting down with my banjo, and I was like, it was like anxiety. It was just like, I was just doing this thing that was like letting stress out. And then all of a sudden this like idea of our first song that it's called You Can't Spell Virus Without Us. And then she got home and I was like really excited. And I was like, hey, look at this cool thing I did. And I think it just kind of came from there. We're like, okay, well, this is like some positivity that we can take out of what's happening to us right now. We can maintain some sanity by continuing to work on something at least, and who knows what it can turn into. So it just it became like a fun little project that if we got too anxious, we would just start trying to work on something to just focus our brains.
Yeah. But again, back to that crooner couple, and for a while we were calling ourselves Las Vegas Sweethearts. We've always wanted to have kind of this brand that has us both, that showcases us not only as a couple, but as a performing couple, and a performing couple in Vegas. Mm-hmm. We've always wanted to find something that labeled us as that, and was a venue or a platform in which we could share something that we create. Because we've always been trying to do it, but this just gave us a whole topic to talk about, and not only a topic to talk about, but one that everybody can kind of relate to, which that's what's kind of very special and really beautiful about this moment, is that when you sing about quarantine, everybody's experiencing it, and they're going to hear some sort of truth in it. And it's just awesome because it's given us this wonderful way to reach out and connect just via these songs and these silly situations.
Yeah, I mean, if it can like help calm us down and focus our brains, then we just hope that it also could, bring some levity and some laughter to other people that are having to go through it and be stuck in their homes. And I mean, some cities are worse than others, but some people literally can't leave their places. So I mean, that's we just wanted to bring a breath of fresh air to those type of people.
Yeah, and go with the winds of change. Right at the very beginning, we were like, this sucks. Like, we can't go to a theater. But if this is the direction that everything is going, if everything's going virtually, then, we got to do it immediately. We can't think. We just got to, start, go, catch the wave, catch the drift, go with it. So I definitely feel like we started kind of before we knew had the full picture, but I think that's kind of a good thing. You just jump in and figure it out along the way, and learn as you go, especially this technical side. We're how do we get lights and sound and what's Zoom? We're so in-person performers that this sort of behind the camera is very new to both of us, but it's been good. It's been a learning curve and trying to stay with the times for sure.
I think the coolest thing that's come out of this and is the creativity of all of you guys, like watching all of you guys in Vegas doing stuff and putting together these shows online and posting videos and performing. It's been very cool to watch everybody sort of, they say necessity is the mother of invention, working through this as they can. And I think if anything excellent is coming out of this, it's this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's really is some incredible, and it's happening all over. I have friends in New York that are just coming out with random things. They're writing new songs. They're coming up with new material. It feels like in the past too, in the world, because it's something like this has kind of happened every 100 years or so, that every time something terrible that affects the whole world like this happens, really good art comes from it, because it basically is that hindrance. Is this
hindrance, actually.
Hindrance?
I said hindrance, but I'm Canadian. I don't know. We spell color with a U. So
yeah,
really,
that's weird. But every time that a hindrance comes into like human lives, a bunch of crazy art comes out of it, kind of in a way. And so I mean, that's kind of the inciting incident that starts everything. And I mean, we have people all over Vegas doing drive-by sing-alongs and God, what else? I mean, in the street magic shows like Murray did, and yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but everybody, I don't know, I feel like it's our bodies keeping us sane, but at the same time wanting to, I don't know, just the camaraderie of it with everybody else, I guess.
Yeah, we're all going through it. We just, in our own way, individually off. It's funny, like you share that sense of like, yeah, we're going through it, but then we're so separated. It's just this very paradoxical thing happening. It's a very special time.
Your guys' ideas for songs and stuff, I mean, you mentioned the first song just kind of came to you from sort of fiddling around with the banjo. Is that sort of, is that common with the stuff? I mean, you guys have put together what, four tracks now?
Four songs now. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a mixture. We kind of have to kind of sense it out that day. Usually what happens is we'll come up with some idea, like what we want the song to kind of be about. Like I think our second song was Betty White, isn't it? Yeah. Our second song was Don't Cough on Betty White. And I don't know. I kept seeing these memes pop up that it's just like, if you guys don't start washing your hands, like, we got to say Betty White. And I was like, oh, that's hilarious. Like we could write a song about that. And it sometimes the lyrics come first, sometimes the music comes first. But I mean, they all kind of come a little bit differently, but we just sit around and we'll either write down a couple phrases and then just kind of like play around and see like what kind of music sounds good on it. Or I mean, may I interject? Yes.
Colin is very, he's kind of very intense. Like he's all in. If he's going to write a song, he wants it to be done like that day. And I'm more of like, let's kind of just let life come to us. Like maybe it'll just pop into our heads. So that dynamic has been, he really likes to sit down and focus. And he's the type of person he'll, like when he was saying, setting up the boundaries of work in your own home, like he'll be like, oh, it's 8 a.m. and I'm starting to write this song. And then the next time he looks at the clock, he's like, it's 8 p.m. And I'm like, I know, you've been dragging me through this work process for 12 hours. So it's interesting. We definitely learn about one another too, even just in our relationship of trying to write a song. Because he's intense, like he wants to get to it and get to work, and he's very focused.
Well, I feel like if I get set on doing it, that I get into this mental state that I can't pull myself out of until I finish it. So I won't eat for like 8 hours even.
And he's like, oh, I need to eat. And I'm like, please, God, if that'll help. But no, it's good. I mean, these songs, they're not a Mozart sonata. So we do kind of knock them out. We do kind of knock them out in a day when they come up.
Now it's just the cheese.
I'm leaving. No, but so when we get to writing, we do try to stay focused on that. But yeah, I think the subject or what the song is about comes first, and then the music and lyrics kind of just evolve together. Mm-hmm. But this board right here that we have Mac and the Cheese on, that's how we scribble out all of our ideas. We're just bouncing, brainstorming stuff back and forth until it kind of comes through. But he's really the one behind the music, the melody. He's always playing the instrument, so he'll kind of come up with a tune, and then I'll just make like a harmony off of what he's doing. So he's definitely got most of the musical genius for sure, as far as constructing something from nothing, and then I'll just kind of jive along with him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she comes up with way more than she's giving herself credit.
No, but I just mean, like he's really good with the music, and I feel like I'm pretty good with the lyrics, or at least like directing the song, like giving it somewhere to go. So yeah, not directing the entire performance, but just where it could go.
Yeah.
And so what's the response been like so far for you guys?
It's been good. We've been getting a decent amount of followers on Facebook and stuff. And I mean, for the most part, we just want to give ourselves a project and something to do and hopefully make people laugh. So, I mean, if we get followers, we get followers. If not, at least my mom's laughing. So.
Yeah, true. No, people have been very kind and very responsive and share our stuff a lot. We've gotten a lot of shares, especially on Facebook. I'd say Facebook is probably our largest platform right now. I think we may have reached 1,000 followers on Facebook.
I checked last night; it was at like 999. So I'm pretty sure surely we've got like one person. Yeah,
so that's pretty cool. And we're also on YouTube as well. We put all of our videos up there, and we're getting views and likes, and it's just
and we've had some friends that do that are writers in town, and we've been put in. Like Sam Novak mentioned us, and I think Johnny Katz put us in one of his articles and stuff. So, I mean, it's been cool. There's been a lot of support amongst the community out here as well. Just because, I mean, we're like we've said, we all kind of got hit with this all at once. And so I feel like everybody's trying to support everyone that's trying to just kind of keep trucking forward. Anybody's doing that, they're going to get the full support of the rest of the community, because we all know how hard it is right now for everybody.
Yeah. Do you think this is a thing you guys are going to be able to carry past quarantine? Do you think Mac and the Cheese is going to be something you guys are going to want to carry on for any length of time?
I would hope so. I mean, for us, I think we've worked so much just from like show to show that we never really were able to put too much effort into our own projects. So I feel like what this was for us too is, it's finally like a project that we can devote as much time to as possible, because we have nothing else to do. But also I think too that at least, for the next few years, this is going to be very much on everyone's mind. And I think nothing is better than making fun of something that's taken such a toll on everybody's lives, because that's how you gain power and control over that mentally, I think, is to treat it like that. So I think Mac and the Cheese hopefully can whether it maintain the quarantine theme that we have, or just eventually hopefully branch out from that and start doing other things as well. But
I mean, I'm just going to put it out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we really want to. And especially if
I'm calling it 1 year from now on Letterman.
On Letterman. So I mean,
he's coming back.
So if there is a venue that becomes open because some show can't come back or anything, I think that we want to take our material and turn it into a show and find a face and do something that's our own. I think that we've definitely come to that place in our career that would be amazing. That would be incredible. That's the dream, right? Is to have your own baby out there for everyone to enjoy. So absolutely, that is something that we really want to keep the momentum and then see where it'll go. So for all of you producers and people with venues out there listening, we're coming up with the material. But yeah, absolutely.
So if people want to find you guys, you mentioned you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube. Are you on Instagram and the Twitters as well?
We're on the Instagrams and the Twitters. Those are very slow starts. We're really bad at the social media aspect of it.
We are. Gosh, it takes so much work. Yeah. We're the kind of people who wants to pour it into the art rather than the...
So we're slowly building the support on the Instagrams and the Twitters. But our best is probably Facebook right now. But yeah, check it out. It's at the Mac and the Cheese.
If you can see.
Right there.
At Mac and the Cheese, and that's for all of
and
the
Mac is spelled M-A-K for those who haven't seen it yet.
Correct.
And
my name
cheese is spelled like cheese.
So it did come from our name. So Makenzie Fly, and
then my name is Cheese.
And his name is Cheese. Yeah, and people asking us like where the cheese came from. And
it's just from my terrible jokes.
It's true. It's so painfully clear to all of our friends that he's the type of person that'll throw out those jokes that you're like, aw, or like, wah, wah,
yeah.
in public situations. But for those people that we don't know, that's where it comes from. Is he's the one with the cheesy jokes,
terrible,
just
cringeworthy,
uncomfortable making dad jokes,
just leaving everybody punished.
Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to jump on with me and chat with me today. I really, really do appreciate it, and hope I'm able to get down and hang out with you guys soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much for having us, Jeff.
Once again, search out Mac and the Cheese, with Mac spelled M-A-K, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And of course, I'll put a link to all their social media and video channels in the show notes at jeffdoesvegas.com. And that wraps up another episode of the podcast. If you've got feedback on this episode of the show, or any other episode for that matter, or you've got suggestions and ideas for topics you'd like me to cover on the podcast, please feel free to reach out to me via Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at JeffDoesVegas. You can also drop me an email directly at jeff@jeffdoesvegas.com. In the meantime, thank you so much for checking out the show. Be sure to subscribe for free wherever you get your podcasts, so you'll know the moment new episodes are available. And don't forget to visit jeffdoesvegas.com for past episodes, show notes, and a link to the official Jeff Does Vegas YouTube channel. My name is Jeff, and this has been episode number 61 of the Jeff Does Vegas podcast.